all, and welcome, Mr. Agrawal. We are really delighted that you are joining us for the Dairy Dialogue, and we are also very excited to have you as our Leader of the Month. Mr. Agrawal is Chief Operating Officer of VRS Foods Limited. Just give us some hint about where did you grow up and how did you come to the dairy sector?
Yeah, myself, Anil Agrawal. I was born and brought up at a very small town of the UP, Uttar Pradesh, India. That is Allahabad. Now it is called Prayagraj. It is renamed by Prayagraj. So I was born in 1965, and I completed all my schooling and college in Allahabad only. And after completing my graduation, I was looking for some college, professional college to join. So some of my friend, he has suggested about this dairy college. That was the Allahabad Agricultural Institute in Taini. There was a college that was a very old college. So I got admission there, and there I completed from my master's from that college. And I wish to tell you that I was a gold medalist from my institute. In 1988, I completed my degree. And then after that, I joined this Mahan group, Pontasa. That was a private sector. So I just joined as the trainee officer in that company. And initially, I started my career from the very beginning at the very lower level of my career. And then I was there for 6.5 years in that plant. And very surprisingly, you will know that after 3 years of joining, I became the head of the production in that unit.
Awesome.
Within a 3 years time. And after that, I was heading the production team of that unit. And we have developed a lot of products, especially that plant was designed to handle skim milk and skim milk powder and the butter and the ghee. But in 90s, somewhere around 1991, there was a huge demand for the dairy whitener in the country.
Yeah.
And that time only one supplier was there, that was a Nestle. Even Amulya was also not there that time. So dairy whitener was the very hot cake for the industry. So we tried our best and we started production of the dairy whitener. And later on, our market size has grown up to 600 metric ton per month. That was the full capacity of the plant. Our product was well established in all over the country, especially in the eastern market, east and northeast market. And the profitability of the company was very good because of there was no competitor in the market. And I was very curious from the day one. So I have done a lot of R&D in the manufacturing of this dairy whitener. And I tell you, due to our teamwork and due to our lot of R&D work, we have been able to reduce the production cost to a very great extent because we have increased the production by 20% from the dryer capacity. So that was the achievement. After that, the company had decided to go for a high-tech plant. So now they have decided to go for this casein and the whey business. So for that, they have chosen me because we have a technological arrangement with the Valio Engineering Finland. So I was in the Finland in 1995 because I was transferred after that in 95 to the new unit to take care of the project and to head of the complete operation of the plant. So I was transferred to because we had a new factory in this Kosikala in near Mathura in UP. So that was a very big project and a very unique kind of project because where we are targeting this acid casein, rennet casein, and this lactose plant, lactose, edible and pharma lactose, and also the WPC, whey protein 1780. So at that time, this casein and whey business was a very hot cake in the country because technology was people were not much aware about the product and the technology. So we had a technical collaboration with the Valio of Engineering Finland. And Valio, I have been Valio for the technology transfer for the 3 months. I have in their different plant in the Valio, like I have worked with their scientists in value R&D Helsinki. I was in their Lapinlahti plant. That was a very big plant. And I was also there in South Como plant in the value. We had actually technical collaboration with the value for this technology transfer of the
Okay.
casein and the lactose and this WPC.
Yeah. And one more thing that I wanted to share, because you talked about early 1990s and the importance of the dairy whitener, because I remember myself growing that time. My father was posted in city of Gonda, and that is not very far from Allahabad, but that city has one of the poorest human development index, and that city still has one of the poorest human development index. And for us, access to fresh milk was very scarce. So sometimes we would get the fresh milk, sometimes we would not. And then, like, this active dairy whitener and milk powders were actually the source of our nutrition as young kids. So I think, like, something that you did has impacted our childhood as well, because I do remember we had few brands. One was definitely Nestle, but I'm not remembering the other brand, and most probably it could be what you guys were manufacturing. So definitely there's a childhood connection that I can find with your work. Yeah, please go ahead.
That is. So after that, I have gone to the value, and I have been in their different plant for the 3 months. Apart from the lactose and this casein, I have been able to see a lot of products in the wayside, because in 1995, Value was doing a lot of R&D, because their R&D was very strong, and they have been doing this milk calcium, milk salts. Then the very hot cake product of that time, I remember very well, it was a demineralized whey powder 90, which was used as a raw material for the baby food. So I had a very fair idea, not only the lactose and casein. Because of my curiosity, I was able to collect all the information regarding all the future products. So that was the, I think, very big gain for me, because when I came back to India, I have put that plant into operation, completed the project for this lactose and casein project, and successfully commissioned that plant. And after that plant, in 1997, then I joined this VRS Food Limited. So in VRS Food Limited, I joined as a factory manager, and I was able to set right in their Gulauti plant, because in Gulauti, because that time we were producing only the skim milk powder and butter. So now our management had decided to go for the casein and the lactose plant and all this thing. So then I told him, okay, don't go for the lactose and this WPC. We have to go for the DM90. So we, from the day one, that was the idea. So we have selected the best technology of the world. We have found this NovaSef France for the this demyelination of the acid whey, and also we have technology or the casein technology from the GIA, Germany. And I tell you, the most difficult work in the whey side is to handle the acid whey, because of the high chloride content and different composition of the whey. So we have been able to set right that plant. And after that, what happened? In 1999, the team from the Nestle Switzerland, Wewe, they came to India to find a business partner for the supply of their basic ingredient for the baby food. So they have visited all the country, 3-4 plants in the country that time existing in 1999, and you will be surprised, they have chosen only one plant, that is ours, because of the technology we have selected for the demyelination of the whey. And till today, that is the 1999. Today is the 2022. We are the one of the biggest supplier for the Nestle for the raw material. And in 2005, Nestle has changed worldwide formulation for their baby food. Instead of DM90, they have diverted it to DWP28. So DWP28 is a very high profile product which is used as a raw material in the baby food, and it is added in the almost 35 to 50% as a raw material. And I tell you, because this product is so critical, because you have to control all the minerals in a particular range. There is a sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, chloride, heavy metals, lead, aluminum, everything, mercury. You have to control in a precisely in their parameter as per the international standard. So we have been able to get success for that plant, very big. That was the first plant in the country, and that time only three plant in the world, that is Marigold in Australia and Euroserum France. They were producing DWP-28 for the Nestle, and third plant from the India was ours. And also there was one very thing, when we put the lactose plant, Nestle has asked us to produce lactose dry mix quality. At that time in 2005, nobody knew what is a dry mix quality. So dry mix quality is a product which can be dry blended into the baby food. So you can now understand the microbiological and other standards. This is very ultimate. So we have put that factory in Gulauti, not is still running that plant. We are manufacturing dry mix quantity, and you will be very surprised. The plant is so fully automated. In only 25% they are running the entire show of the plant. That is including manager, workers, all utilities, everything. So fully automated. So that plant we have been able to supply this dry mix quality. So Nestle has won lot of confidence on us. And after that, we put another factory here in Gwalior. Also, we are producing this 28, especially for the Nestle. So later on, so that was a journey. Actually, what happens if you see, because after that this I have got opportunity to work in Amul. I have got an offer from the Amul, especially they have selected me as a head of the business head operation for the East and Northeast operation. So that was a quite big operation. So I joined Amul because I was very curious to see how they are working. What is the difference between private sector and Amul? What is the difference in the model? That was very curious. And believe me, I have seen a very big change. There's a very different, change of the focus. Focus of the cooperatives is totally different compared to the focus of the private sector. And you see the compare of the multinational, so all the three business model are totally different. Because if you compare the Amul, basically Amul is a cooperative. They has a very big strength of the milk procurement. They are very professional. Amul people are very professional, and they have developed all the more and more focus on the how to get the good quality of milk, how to repay farmers with the good amount, good remuneration of the milk. So their focus is this, and they are more focused on the fresh milk and the milk products. Whereas in the private sector, our more focus is how to get more realization and what product mix we can manufacture so that we can get more realization. And also,
I would like to add something, because this is what I have also observed, is the mandate of these two businesses, like a cooperative and a private players, are completely different. Cooperative's mandate is to ensure access to markets to farmer and availability of milk to a consumer. But valorization is not their core strength. So, for example, and this is where I think India should be going more into the model that you are working as a private player, because this is where we get best value for farmers' milk. Because when I personally think when we are transporting liquids, we are transporting a lot of water. If local production is there, that should happen. But to ensure a significant amount should also go for ingredient production. And this is where I personally like the focus that private companies have. So actually, like, I would like to stop you, because you have talked slightly about like your experience with Amul, with VRS. One question that I have been thinking of, this is about another cooperative that was there in Uttar Pradesh. And that is called Parag, if you remember. So what happened to Parag, and why a private players like yourself were able to sustain in this region, but Parag did not sustain? If you would like to touch this point.
Amul team is very professional, and they have tried to replicate their model across the country.
Yeah.
They have trained other cooperatives also, but unless uh, anyhow, unless you have a very good command of the in the market as well as the milk procurement, and also one should be willing to expand their business, because Amul growth is almost as on today, if you see, the 15 to 16%. But anyhow, other cooperatives, especially, you are very right, Parag cooperative could not do well because they could not sustain the milk volume, because lot of private, if you see the difference between Gujarat and other states, because of the professionalism of the Amul, yeah, because of their control on the field, no, there is no private sector. Almost private sector is nil in the Gujarat. Whereas in the when the cooperative is weak, especially in the UP, so what happened? Lot of private players came into the picture, and they have taken the command of the milk procurement. One day you lose a milk procurement, you lose everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the reason for the failure of the Parag, because they could not sustain and they could not grow the milk volume what they have been procuring from the field. Other private player gain into the entry, and they have snatched the milk whatever they are procuring. So their model was collapsed. Yeah, their model was downtrend because of the less control or less growth, yeah, no growth, yeah, degrowth in the milk procurement system.
Yeah. Now you talked about like how you like finished your college, you went to Mahan, you worked there, then you moved to VRS, and this is where you had like multiple like experience of going abroad, bringing some learning and bringing a lot of technologies to India, cooperating and producing for some of the largest producers with the most sensitive product that they were requiring. Then you also moved to Amul. This is where you had like some experience dealing with a cooperative and also saw the difference between an international company, a private company, and a national cooperative. Now, like you, we see that like you have moved back to VRS. What brought you back to VRS? And also, I would like to understand because like when you were at Amul, you were handling the cheese and the whey business. So how different was it from how different was that business from the infant ingredient production business?
Yeah, I tell you, after serving almost near about 2 years at the head of the East and Northeast operation, I transferred to the head as a cheese and whey business. And that when I joined, taken charge of that business, there was a big expansion was going on. So we successfully completed expansion of that project, because there was expansion of the cheese business in terms of the cheddar production, in terms of the processed cheese production, also the mozzarella production. There was a big, and also there was a big expansion in the whey handling also. So I tell you, and there we have commissioned the India's first automatic processed cheese storage system, fully automatic, where everything, and also we have been able to make that company 100% on the digital platform. It was a paperless company, so everything was all the operation was running through the app and recording for the app and all this thing. So we have been able to success, and I tell you that plant was also very good. So I tell you, because the market share of the cheese in the market share of the Amul in the cheese is almost 60% of the country. So they are the biggest, and they are growing like anything. Their growth is almost 15 to 20%. But I found that there is a lot of scope in the way handling and the way products. As on now, you see, as on today, if you see country as a whole, anybody who is doing business of the cheese or casein and all these things where waste generated, as on today, there is a very, very big scope in all over the world in the whey products. Most of the realization of the casein and the cheese in the whey side. Whosoever, any company whosoever is doing business in the casein and cheese, they cannot compete, they cannot survive unless they have a good realization on the whey side. So that is my experience. There is a number of products you can produce from the whey. Amul is enter into the beverages industry. So Amul has launched a whey drink like Amul True and this Amul Stellar. So that was one is the non carbonated drink, and Amul Stellar is a carbonated drink. So I tell you, so Amul is going. The business is very good. Product quality is very good, and they are growing at the rate of 15 to 20% in the cheese category, and also. But still, I found a lot of scope in the way side, and but I left Amul because of the some family issues, because my children was set here in the Noida, so I had to come back because of the some family issues. So I really joined this VRS Food Limited recently, almost 6 months back, and again we are trying to diversify into the different sector. So because now there is a very big challenge, because in India what happens, the milk prices are going up almost at the peak at the moment, and you can survive as a private player. We can only survive when we go for the value addition of our product.
Exactly.
So now I have to connect my industry to the pharma industry. I have to connect my industry to the nutrition industry, where the high value addition is there. Only then we can survive and we can sustain our business. Because normal selling of the liquid milk, curd, butter, ghee, it will you will not sustain at the moment.
Yeah, so technically you're saying valorization, or the having a valorization model for your milk is the most critical factor for success for private players, because then you need to ensure, because you do not have any government supports, you do not get any subsidies to start with.
Yes.
Where you make best out of your milk, and even to the waste stream, that you need to valorize your waste. So because you cannot be a cheese business and you keep on spilling your whey, you have to make money out of it. So one thing that because you have like lived for a really long time in UP, and I come from UP, that's why this is the question that I have. We have the biggest population, we have one of the biggest animal numbers, but why does UP does not look so big when it comes to a brand? So for example, VRS is there, but like it's not a consumer brand. Why we don't have a very big consumer brand?
I tell you, we have three verticals of the business in the dairy sector. One is the ingredient business, one is the retail business, and one is the the local market like butter and ghee, all this thing. And we are also doing a very big export, because we are doing a lot of export of the acid casein. We are doing a lot of our export of the last financial year. It was almost 5 billion Indian rupees. Export was there, and this year also we are doing very well. And I tell you, in the retail, actually, there is a lot of margin pressure on the liquid milk, because as on today, it is very difficult to compete with the Amul and Cooperative on the liquid milk side. Earlier in the country, liquid milk business was a very different. It was a profitable business. But as on today, when the milk prices are going up, you cannot increase the price of the finished product unless the cooperatives are doing the same. So you have to follow the cooperative, because they are the leader in that field. So in that case, there's a lot of pressure on the margin. So that business is not growing due to that. Unless you you have some margin, and it is very difficult to grow in that sector. So ingredient business is a very good business, because by doing innovation, by doing different, working with the different multinational and all this thing, you get some realization on that part. So anyhow, that business is balanced between the retail, and this is the commodity. This is all this thing. We are in the nutrition business also. We have started, but that business is slowly picking up. But we are doing very well in the ingredient business.
Like now I have two questions basically, like from what you have said. One is, we understand there is a seasonality of milk production in India. So there are times when milk production is like slightly higher, prices are slightly lower. And then there are times when milk production, that is actually happening in the peak summers. And then milk production is slightly going down. So how, as a private player, do you compete with other businesses to ensure that you have access to milk all the time?
No, you are absolutely right. Here in the north, actually, we have a plant in the north also. We have a plant in the western part also. North plant is a mixed milk. This is a cow plus buffalo. And if you go for the go to the Maharashtra and the southern part, there is a mostly the cow milk is there. In the cow milk belt, the plant is running 365 days, whereas in the north region, because of the buffalo milk, because the production of the buffalo milk goes down very low, almost 70% production of the raw milk goes down in the summer season. So naturally, we have to run our plant. So what we do, we cut down our production, and most of our plant, how we manage, our plants are very flexible. In the same plant, without compromising with the quality, we can diversify into the other products. Like in the Malanpur, where I am sitting now, here the capacity is almost to handle 1 million liter of milk for the acid casein on the way. In case milk is less, or we found that there is a less realization or not realization in the casein business, we can diversify to the skim milk and whole milk powder without affecting our plant capacities. So that's why we manage. We depends how we get the order. You know, the private sector is working on the totally on the margin basis.
Yeah.
So we diversify our product portfolio as per the market demand, and we have designed our plant in such a way in not to lose capacity in terms of the diversification. So that's why we manage. Even this is the peak of the milk price in the history of the country. Yeah. Even then, we are running the plant at the full capacity as on today, because we have a good orders for the casein in the way. Because we are a 50 years old company, so we know what is the milk trend in the, and we also do the forecasting of the milk price. So accordingly, we take the orders and all this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, when we're talking about the milk pricing, because this is very interesting, everyone wants to understand what is going to be the milk price. So when you're talking about the milk price, as of now, we are one of the highest. There was a time, let's say during COVID in 2020, when milk prices really fell down. Okay, there was lockdown, a lot of institutional demand was cut out. So now, what is your take on the current milk prices? Do we see that is going to be a new normal, or we can see some decline in the milk prices happening? And the second very interesting question that I have is Indian milk prices connected to the global milk price? Is there a connection or relation or a correlation that we can see?
See, I clear you one thing. There is no relation of the Indian milk price with the outside Western milk price. Here the milk business is in a different way. What happens when you see the collection model in the India is totally different from the other part of the world. Here there are very small farmers. You see, here the farmers is very small. Their land holding is very small, and because of the most of the farmers, people are having habit to drink the milk and to use the milk product daily in the household. So what happens because of that? Most of the farmers, they keep 1 or 2 animals. Some big farmers, they keep 8 to 10 animals. It depends on the land holding and all these things. And the farmers sells here only the surplus milk, which is the leftover milk after their consumption in the house. So that is and in the western part, it's totally different. They have the big dairy farms and they are collecting milk in a very professional way. So here the very small dairy farmers, and you go to villages and you will be very surprised. In the villages, in some villages, there is a milk is in the tune of 1500 kg, 1200 kg, and out of that, the surplus milk is around 400, 500, 600 kg. So milk collection network is a very tedious and is a very costly affair here. The cost of milk collection is a very high here. And what happens, what is the motivation of the farmers here for the milk procurement is the price. If they get the good price, because of the crop, there are the seasonal variation and these climatic changes, there is a big threat on the crop production also. So what happens, their daily demand, because all the milk companies, because there is a very big competition in the milk pricing and the collection. So most of the milk companies, they are paying weekly basis payment. Some companies are giving 3 days payment. After every 3 days, 4 days, they get the farmers get the payment in their account. So what happens? All the daily expenses of the farmers is being taken care of by the milk business. So what happens if they get the good price? So they are motivated to increase milk production. Suppose this year the milk prices at the top, you will see in the next in 1 or 2 years the milk production goes very high and the milk process prices will drop. But I hope this year I don't find much decrease in the milk price. Maybe little bit after Diwali, after from November onwards, you see a small correction, but I don't find a big correction of the milk prices in the country because the demand is very high at the moment. Festival seasons and all this thing, the milk demand is very high. I tell you because in India, the internal consumption is also very high. What happened recently in the last year, if you see, earlier there was a small player for the sweet manufacture. Now the big companies are coming in a very big way in the sweet manufacturing also. So the demand in the organized sector for the milk is increasing like anything. I tell you, because everybody wants the growth of the company, everybody wants the turnover, increase in the turnover, so they are increasing their capacity. That is also going on here in a big way. So I don't find much price reduction this year. Maybe little bit in when the flush season comes, because flush season will come around from November to February. So there may be some difference, but not much. I don't find much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, like there are two things that I want to ask you two questions. You have been a very big exporter from the Indian market. Yeah. How do you compete in the global arena when most of the time Indian prices are generally higher as compared to the global prices? This is one question. Secondly, what is the scope of exports from India do you see in the future? Because what we are observing is like demand growth year on year is far stronger as compared to milk production growth. You see the history of the last 10 and 20 years, what I'm observing. India is world largest producer and in the world, and India is also having the largest consumer in the world. Exactly. So India can only export any product to the outside till it is feasible. Yes. When the milk prices are high, international prices are low, India cannot compete. India cannot export a single gram any product. In such many times I have seen, because there is a shortage of the fat and all these things. So India is a net importer also. But what happens because of the high duty structure of the imported product, it is very difficult for the import from any other country. Duty concession to anybody. Yeah. So it is very difficult anybody to import any product from other country, unless because government gives sometimes when there is a shortage in the country, so government gives a duty relaxation to some of the companies to import the products, or anybody where when the prices are so cheap outside you can afford paying duty, so you are also doing it. Some traders are doing it because as on today, lot of import is on the whey protein side. Why? Because even after paying a lot of duty, if there's a scarcity in the country, people have to use it, so they are paying the cost. Yeah. So still they are earning good money. Importers are earning good money. You cannot export any whey products from the country, especially the whey protein, because the price of India is very high, almost 1.5 times what the price of the Europe and other part of the country. Yeah. So India is sometimes a importer, India is sometimes exporter. It all depends upon the milk pricing in the country. Yeah. Our milk pricing is very difficult. It depends on the production, it depends on the demand. So it is fluctuating a lot. Yeah. Yeah, because this always makes me think like, how are we 100% self-sufficient when our prices are fluctuating so much, and we have like sometimes we are short, sometimes we are like surplus. So how self-sufficient are we? Now talking about what is the future of exports, because if a company wants to get into an ingredient business, a plant is not very cheap. It has to be a very expensive plant. Like you are talking about investment of 100 to 200 million US dollars to create a sound plant that is capable to export. But if I'm going to put so much of money into the market, and then like because of the prices, because of the policy, I'm not able to do any of the international trade at a given point. How do you think, is it feasible to do this, or what is your take on this?
I think if anybody wants to come to India, put a plan here, he should think about the local market.
Mm-hmm.
It is very difficult to go to sustain the business if you invest here and go for the export, unless you have a very high relation of that product, because here the milk prices are very high compared to the other part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very difficult unless you, because you see, if you see the business model of the multinationals like Nestle, like Danone, and all these things, they have come India, and they few companies are importing other ingredients from other part of the world, but they have a target. In a certain time they will procure all ingredients from the country itself. So to sustain the business model, to reduce the cost, to improve the margin, that was the idea for this. And they have come with a very big R&D support for their product, and they have a very unique product. So that's why they survive in the market. Like if you see the Danone, if you see the Lactalis, if you see the Nestle, if you see the Abbott India, they have a very unique product. So that's why they are surviving in a very good way, because nobody, other players have so much of technical knowledge in this field. So that's why they are surviving, because of the high profile of the product. So I don't think if anybody comes and put a plant for the sport purpose only, it is very difficult to survive only on the sport, because sport is a flip-flop business. Sometimes you can export, sometimes import, you never know. It's very difficult.
Because from, let's say, like from more than 2 decades or 3 decades, like at least from 2 decades, we have been the number one milk producer, but we have hardly made a dent on the global markets. Also, if you see in the recent times, milk production has almost peaked in the Europe. So when we talk about the potentials of the global market, there are few regions that would be able to compensate. One is definitely Americas. So like one country that I talk of is Argentina. It's a sound exporter. US is there. They are trying their best to be present in the global market, but they are still like somewhere around 102 to 105% of self-sufficiency. And according to USDA, Europe has already peaked. So that the only thing that we can see is they would only be going down. Then comes to the New Zealand, but we also hear that Fonterra is trying to get into less of ingredient but more into specialty products. So this is where I always thought that India would pose a very sound potential for exporter in the global market. But what I understand from you is like, as of now, we are very much focused on meeting our own requirements. Yeah. So Abhi, like you talked about like robust demand in India. So what do you think, like where the most of the demand actually comes from? Is it coming from liquids? Is it coming from cheese, or is it coming from some other products as of now?
I tell you, all the sectors are growing. There is a very good growth in the liquid milk business. There is a very good growth in the cheese business, also growing at a very fast rate. And also the fermented products is growing like anything at the moment. Whey product is going like anything. Huge demand for the whey protein concentrate. India, you will be very surprised. I tell you, lot of paneer is being manufactured by the small petty people at the shop and all this thing. And very surprisingly, they don't know they don't have the facility to process the whey. So most of the paneer whey they are draining like anything. Huge potential. There is a very huge potential, because as on today, the international and the local pricing of the whey protein concentrate and lactose is very high. So there is a very good scope in the future in the country for the whey processing. I see very big scope of the whey. Earlier there was a not much technical know-how in the country, but now the people slowly they understand the importance of the whey.
We ourselves are paneer manufacturers here in Germany. And we actually have 100,000 liters of whey that we have to waste because we do not know what to do with it. Because neither we are too big nor we are too small. So we have to actually give that whey to a local farmer who is raising pigs, and it goes as a feed. And we rather pay the transportation for the whey to be taken care of. So this is one big problem. And I can understand what potentials you are talking about, because we have a massive, massive paneer industry in India. Earlier, it was more of a North Indian product, has like percolated in down south, and I can imagine like it's the chicken for the vegetarians. So definitely, we need a lot of work in there.
I tell you, Prashantji, whey is such a huge potential.
Mhm.
If you are manufacturing cheese, and if you are able to handle whey and make a value addition product,
Yeah,
your cheese production is almost free.
yeah.
It is free. You
Mhm.
can get all the relation from where it is so profitable business.
Yeah.
Only thing, what product to make, how to make. So that is a big question, because there is not much technology available, not people much about the product and all this thing.
Yes.
Like you told about the paneer way, there is a very big scope. All the paneer way we are manufacturing, we are making a lot of products from the paneer way. We are
Mhm.
making lactose, and all as on today the technology is so advanced. Now you can make, earlier people were hesitating to handle the whey and all these things, because when you uh, process the lactose, lot of mother liquor is generated. So
Mhm.
it was very difficult to handle the mother liquor, how to handle the mother liquor. But the now the technology is so advanced. Now you can make the very good product, good realization from the mother liquor also.
Mhm.
So almost your plant is zero discharge. You can recycling 100% of the product, and
Mhm.
you can make such a profit basket of the product where you can maximize your profit. And I can guarantee you, if you are able to make a good utilization of the way, your paneer or your cheese will be free. It is such a
Mhm.
profitable business.
Completely understand this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of investment has to be made from our side as well. So, what is your vision about the future next 10 years of the Indian market? Like, how do you see us developing? How do you see us making a global mark, or us meeting our own requirements?
The population is increasing, per capita income is increasing. So all the fresh dairy milk products, fermented products, all the household product will go at the same rate as on today. It
Mhm.
will grow at the 10 to 15% growth will be there.
Mhm.
Maybe 5-10% something around growth will be there. And all the long shelf life product, especially the cheese and all these things, they have a very big scope on the grow. I see lot of growth in these sectors, especially in the fresh milk products and in the household products. Sweet business, cheese business, paneer business, curd, yogurt, and the butter, ghee, and liquid milk. These business will grow like anything in the same pace. And regarding and also we see a lot of especially specialty products to come into the picture by the private sector and all these things to sustain their business. So we find the growth of the Indian dairy industry will be very good. Now the people, most of the companies, they are focusing and of the milk procurement. They are doing a lot of facilities in terms of the fodder, in terms of the veterinary services to the farmers. So their focus is on the milk procurement, because unless milk procurement is there, nobody can do anything. So most of the company, they are doing lot of investment in the milk procurement collection systems. So I think the milk procurement will also grow, because the price is very supportive to the farmer, and because of the climatic condition of the erratic behavior of the weather and the disturbance in the crop production. So farmers are more motivated to go for the dairy business, because the dairy business is there because they get the cash within a week time. Because when you go for the crop, you may or may not get after 3-4 months, nobody knows. So they are motivated because of the high price, because of the timely payment. The farmers are motivated, and also the companies are spending a lot on the milk procurement system. So I hope the scope of the dairy, keeping in view the milk procurement system, keeping in view the consumer behavior system, I see a very robust growth in the coming 10 years time of the dairy industry. Especially, there's a lot of scope in the specialty products, in the high ingredient products, where you can get the high value and you can repay the good amount to the farmers. So that was the idea. I see a very good growth in the future. Yeah.
Now, one question that I should have asked you earlier is, what is your take on import of dairy products towards India? Like, do you think like we should have a policy where we are like protective policy, or we should be more of an open market?
I don't think the government will allow for the import of the products in a long way, because what happens when you import all the cheaper products into the country, it will affect the uh, uh, local milk pricing of the farmers. And you know, the India in India, the farmers are very small. They are not the big farmers. They are very small. Their household income is very low. So if you import the cheaper product into the country, their margin, their profitability will affect in a very big way. So that's why there is very big. Lot of time it was discussed, but there was a big oppose from the cooperative sector and all this thing in not to allow any import in the country. That's why, you know, in India the duty of the milk product is very high. Yeah. It's very difficult because there are, you know, in India there are almost 200 million farmers who are producing the milk on the daily basis. So it's a huge business in the country, milk business in the country, and no government can survive if they touch with this agriculture sector where the so many people are involved.
There's one saying someone told me long time back, in India, cows don't only give milk, they also give votes. So it's also a very politically sensitive subject. So I think like we have already arrived at the time, like we have only 5 minutes left in our discussion. So last question that I would like to pose to you. What advice would you give to your younger self? Like, let's say, like when you're coming fresh out of college, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I have seen one thing. People should live in the present. They should not talk about the future and the past. They have to work hard. They have to be very sincere. They have to be very ownership is very strong, and they must be curious. They must be able to pick up new thing. They must learn the new thing, and they should not think this is my area. I cannot see that area, because what I've seen in the new generation, they are more affiliation is toward the good office and the computer. They want a computer system. They are not able to. They are not ready to work in the field. That is a minus point for the new generation. So what I expect from the new generation, because dairy plant is a business which is not a business on the computer room, it is a business of the field. Yeah. Whether you are in marketing, whether you are in a procurement, whether you are a plant, you have to deal with the people. And the most important thing, what I find, and that is my area also, for the people development. If you want a big leader, you want to succeed in your life, you have to develop your supportive team. You have to develop the people. The more people you develop, the more you are the tension free, and more of the plants are smooth. So the business grow when you have a good teamwork, when you develop your team, when you train your team, when you take, when you are curious, and then you have a very positive attitude. Then you. So that is my advice to all the new generation. They should not stick to the computer and all these things. They should go to the field and they should learn whatever they can learn. Yeah, it is an open field. They should go to the procurement. They should learn how to procurement, because unless they learn all the function, they cannot be a complete dairyman. Yeah. So that is my advice to them. Yeah, I think this is like super interesting, because like it's a really great advice, because two things that you have mentioned, and I think that I also take as a mantra, is one thing is the curiosity. You should be very curious to learn new things, and also the ownership. Be
like whatever you do, take the ownership of whatever you are doing, your actions. So with this, I would like to thank you, Mr. Agrawal, for your time and joining us at the Daily Dialogues. I'm very much sure our audience would find it very interesting and very intriguing. Also, you have shared a lot of information and insights about the ingredients market in India. This is one of the discussions that I have personally come across where someone has talked about the in-depth ingredient market in India and the potentials of the market.